Hey guys, welcome back to Dark Horse FM. Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen. And we're here in 2022 officially. Yeah, I'm back in 2022. And in this video, guys, I'm going to show you how to replace roles in Football Manager 2022. The idea basically is, of course, there are tactics that use very adventurous roles like the Segundo Volante and the Metala and the roaming playmakers, and it's obvious that some of these roles may not be like if you're playing in the lower leagues, for example, you may not be able to have a player that is an out and out Segundo Volante or a roaming playmaker of sorts. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to recreate certain roles using a different kind of role, like substituting a particular role that is more adventurous for a role that is more common among players, where every player in your team should be able to play those roles. So for today's video, I'm going to be looking at 4 key roles that I want to try and replace with other roles that are slightly more or that are slightly less adventurous, if I should say. So I'm going to be looking at the Segundo Volante, the central midfielder, for example, using a roaming playmaker in that scenario, or a defensive midfielder. I'm also going to be trying to replace the complete wing back, because it's a role that is quite adventurous, and it may be very difficult to find complete wing backs in the lower league. So I'm going to also find the replacement role for the complete wing back. And the last role is going to be the complete forward. As we all know, there are some tactics that actually ask you to use a complete forward. So we're going to try to look for a kind of an alternative role to using the complete forward, for example. So guys, these are the roles I'm going to be going through, and if there are additional roles you want me to try and replace, you can let me know in the comment section as well. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel also, and to leave a like on this video. If you found the tips that I'm going to reveal to you useful, you can leave a like on the comment below, and also subscribe to the channel as well to stay up to date with videos that I upload whenever I upload another video regarding a new Football Manager content, for example. So guys, the first role I'm going to be looking at is the Segundo Volante. The Segundo Volante role is mostly found in a defensive midfield position. You can see this role usually when you have the defensive midfielder on either the left or on the right side of the field. So if you have a defensive midfielder in the central position, the Segundo Volante role is not available for you to play in this position. It's only available if you're using the defender on either, if you're using your defensive midfielder on either side of the defensive position. Let's put like the defender on the right or the defender on the left hand side. So the Segundo Volante, as the description covers, the Segundo Volante is a different type of deep line playmaker, and their role is primarily a defensive one, best suited to be paired with an anchor man, or normally what I would say as a defensive midfielder on defend duty. Even though the game doesn't include that here, a defensive midfielder on defend duty is actually a good pairing for a Segundo Volante. The player is quite different from a ball-winning midfielder in the sense that they often run with the ball or arrive late in the opposition box, or arrive with a late run in the opposition area. Yeah, in the same way a box-to-box midfielder operates. So it's almost like a box-to-box midfielder in the deep line playmaker in the defensive midfield position. So with the Segundo Volante on support duty, his aim role is to support the attack while choosing his opportunities to arrive late into the box, much like Fabinho does for Liverpool. If you check the way Fabinho operates. In attack duty, wow, that went off. In attack duty, the Segundo Volante will look to get forward and frequently also to look to arrive into the opposition's area of the box and attempt to score more goals. So with the attacking position, the Volante is going to be doing his duty a bit more rather than just sit in the defensive midfield position and try to curtail opposition counter attacks, if you put it that way. So to swap the Segundo Volante, in my opinion, we can see that the only instruction included for the Segundo Volante is to get further forward. If you use a defensive midfielder in this role, let's say we're trying to replace the Segundo Volante, a defensive midfielder on defend duty is not going to operate like a Segundo Volante because he has the hold position instruction included in his role. So if we want to try and at least close enough to replace the Segundo Volante, we're going to have to swap the defensive midfielder for a defensive midfielder on support duty. That's for starters. This instruction is blank, so we can actually include the instructions for the Segundo Volante in this role. I'm going to show you something very similar. If you select the deep line playmaker on support or on defend duty, the deep line playmaker on support duty still has the instruction to hold his position, which means he's not going to operate like the Segundo Volante. He's going to get slightly forward, I guess, in this position and try to play passes into the opposition areas, but he's not going to be adventurous in attack all the way up here. That's not what he's going to do. He's not going to arrive into the box late. And you can't select a deep line play. You can't select a box-to-box midfielder in this role because it's the defensive midfielder role. So basically, for starters, what I would say replacing the Segundo Volante would be to use a defensive midfielder on support duty. And recalling the Segundo Volante's one instruction of get further forward is to include the get further forward instruction for the defensive midfielder, for example. And then there is an unspoken instruction in the Segundo Volante's description that is not included in the player instruction, which is the run with the ball more often. So we can add dribble more for the Segundo Volante when we're trying to replace him, when we can add dribble more for the defensive midfielder on support duty so he can act more like a Segundo Volante. The other instructions are quite user based. You can include this for yourself if you want him to press more, to tackle harder or mark tighter, depending. Those are not also labeled for the Segundo Volante. For example, if this was a ball winning midfielder, the tackle harder option might be turned on for him. So, but since it's not a ball winning midfielder, it's a supporting midfield, like the defensive midfielder or support we're trying to use to recreate the Segundo Volante. The get further forward and dribble more instructions are instructions that ideally, in my opinion, represent the Segundo Volante's role. The next role I'm going to try to find a replacement for today is the roaming playmaker on support duty. Looking at his description really quickly, the roaming playmaker is almost like the heartbeat of the team, driving the ball forward to spearhead attacks and also to offer passing lanes or passing options for his teammates while carrying the team forward. The player is a very physical player, and he looks to also camp at the edge of the box to try and sweep up passes and also create more passing options for his teammates to play through to him. This role is only available on support duty, as it shows. Now, in my opinion, I'm going to say to replace the roaming playmaker, we're going to need a player that is very physical and also a player that is very dynamic in movement. You can also use the box-to-box midfielder to replace the roaming playmaker, but in the sense you're going to have to ask him to take more risk. And looking at the description of the roaming playmaker as well, the instruction I'm going to just use this central midfielder by the side to try and recreate that role. We're going to swap the central midfielder to the box-to-box midfielder as well. The box-to-box midfielder is dynamic and also gets up and down into the box and also outside, also gets into the opposition's area and then also into the defensive area as well. So in both boxes. And the problem I'm going to have with the box-to-box midfielder, as it shows here, is that the roaming playmaker tends to camp at the edge of the box, and the box-to-box midfielder is going to get into the box. So looking at this off the bat, I'm going to say the box-to-box midfielder, although it looks like a role that you can use, it's not ideally going to be the role to replace the roaming playmaker. So I just learned that right now. We're going to swap the playmaker role, the roaming playmaker. We're going to try to use a central midfielder on support as well, because this role, as looking at the description, the player is also an industrious midfielder that is versatile in both attack and in defense as well. And he is not expected to always get into the box every single time. The central midfielder looks to judicially balance his attacking and defensive responsibility as well to get forward, normally only when necessary. So let's put it like that. And then we can add the central midfielder's instruction, just like we did for the Segundo Volante. We're going to ask him to dribble more, because that's what the roaming playmaker does, drives the team forward with more passes. You can also ask the central midfielder to behave more like a roaming playmaker if we ask him to take more risks, because he's supposed to offer passing lanes for the team as well, and also be an option for the team to pass to, and also be the one spraying passes to the Tate to try and control the game from midfield. The player preferred move that is really good to try and replace the roaming playmaker, if you're using a central midfielder, is going to be to dictate tempo. So you can add that to your central midfielder to dictate the tempo. That way he's the one controlling the game from the middle of the field. So now dribble more and take more risk. The get further forward and move into channels instruction is not going to be ideal to try and recreate the roaming playmaker, but having dribble more option and then hold his position as well, having these two, you can observe that the game doesn't actually uncheck one of the options. So it shows that as much as the player drives the team forward, he's not going to want to get into the box that easily. He's not getting forward or moving into channels. It's just slowly hovering around in the midfield position to try and be an option for the team to pass to and then recycle possession.
So guys, the next role I want to try and recreate is the complete wingback. This role is quite tricky because you can do this with both the wingback you can do this with both wingback and fullback as well. But I enjoy doing this with the fullback because it has a lot more it has a lot more creativity to it when you do it with the fullback with as opposed to doing it with a wing back, although both options would still work either way. According to the description, the complete wingback loves to attack, while also he's capable of occupying defensive duties as well. So, quick description: the complete wingback is a player that is actually assigned an attacking role, but with the support duty of the complete wingback, the player is also asked to combine his attacking responsibilities with defensive duties. Normally, this player is going to roam from his position and get all the way up into this position as well. So that's basically his role. Sometimes you're going to actually notice the complete wingback get into the box to try and score one-on-one situations. It's likely you'd see this with not Trent Alexander-Arnold, sorry. You see this with Kieran Tierney for Arsenal. You see it with Reece James at Chelsea. You see it with also Ben Chilwell when he was at Chelsea. When he was still playing currently, now Ben Chilwell is injured. So you see, that's basically how the complete wingback would normally operate. And also you can recreate that role if you swap the complete wingback and use the fullback on attack duty. So the get further forward instruction and then the cross more often instruction is also going to be turned on. You notice that the complete wingback doesn't have the instruction to cross the ball from the byline, but that is like I described earlier with previous roles, that is an unspoken instruction. So you're going to have to include to some extent the cross from byline instruction for the fullback on attack to actually enable him to be more adventurous when crossing and get all the way to the opposition's attacking third and try and create chances from there as well. The fullback on attack now is also, you can see, has been asked to get further forward, which is also ideal for the complete wingback. Here's the tricky part: when the ball has been played to the player that is playing in the fullback role or that you want to recreate as a complete wingback, the run wide with the ball instruction is crucial for this role, because if you set the fullback as playing on attack to play as cut inside with the ball, then you're asking him to play as an inverted wingback instead of a complete wingback that is slightly more adventurous and playing crosses from wide areas. He's going to tend to cut inside and try to disrupt the opposition from the middle of the field. That way, he's going to behave much more like an inverted wingback, than a complete wingback. So adding run wide with the ball to the fullback on attack duty is ideal to try and recreate the complete wingback role. Also, dribble more is an instruction that you also want to include. The rest instructions here are instructions that I'm going to say are user-based, but if you want to make him more powerful, you can add take more risk. But this instruction, as you would notice, is for the player to play more adventurous through balls. And if you look at player descriptions, that is a role that is suited for the wingback on support duty. So adding this to a fullback on attack might make him more powerful, but it doesn't make him play like a complete wingback. It just makes him slightly a bit more than a regular complete wingback. Let's put it that way. So that's basically all you're going to need: run wide with the ball, dribble a lot more, and cross the ball from the byline. That way the fullback gets all the way high and it's more adventurous and also contributes to attacking phases of the play a lot more. Last role today that I'm going to be looking at, but definitely not the least, is probably one of the most powerful roles in Football Manager, in my opinion, is the complete forward on attack duty. So if you want to create the complete forward either on support duty or attack duty, it's also tricky to understand the capacity in which the complete forward plays at. So you can see that basically from Football Manager already giving us the hints that if you want to play a complete forward, normally this player has all the technical attributes of a deep lying forward and the goal scoring prowess of a poacher, also the strength and the power of a target man. So he's basically three strikers in one. He's almost like the ultimate striker in football, and it's rare to find players that can actually execute this role. But thanks to the way Football Manager 2022 and indeed Football Manager 2021 has been designed, you just need to check the player attributes to see if they actually match the role. So if I pick a random player, I don't know if I've got time for that, but let's look at Kelechi Iheanacho. Currently, I'm playing with my Nigerian team, so we just won the African Cup of Nations. That's on the side. I'll probably gather up the tactic I used to win the African Cup of Nations pretty easily and share with you guys in a much later video. But looking at Kelechi Iheanacho, for example, we're going to see his roles here, and then we go to player positions, and then we ask the manager to highlight roles for, oh my god, what am I doing? Okay, Kelechi Iheanacho, for example. the player attributes and ask the manager or the assistant manager to highlight roles for, I'm trying to get around that. Okay, highlight roles for the complete forward, please. We can see that although he's designated to play as an advanced forward anyway, you can see that the complete forward on attack duty, he basically matches all the attributes. So you can see all the attributes here that Kelechi Iheanacho has, and the ones crucial for the complete forward is basically highlighted in view now. You can see that he matches, or he ticks all the boxes to play as a complete forward on attack. And he also has this nice attribute of placing his shots. So to try and recreate the complete forward on attack duty, we're going to try to use, first of all, the deep line forward on attack duty as well. So this deep line forward, as the instruction shows, is going to obviously, with the complete forwards instructions, we can see hold up the ball, dribble more, take more risks, move in the channels, and roam from positions. Looking at deep line forward, the deep line forward actually has hold up the ball, take more risks, and move into channels. So there's slightly two more instructions, which is roam from positions, that the deep line forward does not have. So you can include that instruction for the deep line forward to make him act more like a complete forward, to give him that bit of freedom to go wherever he wants on the field and to actually be more effective in more areas in the attacking position. Dribble more is also an instruction you can include for the complete forward to try and recreate the complete forward anyway. So you can ask him to act a bit more like this. This is just basically the recreation of a complete forward. So you can see that we can do. It might be tricky to do this with a target man, so because target man designatedly has been asked to stay in one position, so he can't really roam. So it's going to be tricky to try and recreate the complete forward using a target man. But it's something that is, well, to be honest with you, you should try by yourself and see. That's basically the joy in Football Manager anyway. But looking at the target man now on support, we can see, okay, you can actually target man to roam from position, but that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Okay. Anyway, in my head, I'm going to say using the deep line forward on attack. That way, he has the ability to come deep into positions, roam all the way in these areas, get out wide, and then also even stay central sometimes if he wants. So that's basically trying to recreate the complete forward using a deep line forward on attack. And of course, the physicality has to be included. So if I want Kelechi Iheanacho to play as a complete forward, even though he's not playing the complete forward role, the height, strength, heading ability, jumping reach, physical prowess, aggression, and all that, they're going to be important for him to play as a complete forward. And also the physicality, pace, stamina, work rate, they're quite important for the complete forward. So he's going to be able to get around and then also be in the box at the same time. So it's a powerful role, and it's one of my favorite roles if I have the player to actually execute the role to try and use in Football Manager. But when you can't, this is just a simple way to try and recreate a particular role that normally your player doesn't have the physicality to do so, or he's not familiar with the role. You can use this sort of version 2.0 of a particular role and just change it. So guys, that's a summary of the video, and that's how you can swap more adventurous role for a more simple role. In case you have a player that is not familiar with the role, that is too adventurous, you can swap it in this simple steps that I've just shown you in this video. And if there's a similar role you want me to do a description about swapping this role with an alternative role, in case you don't have that kind of player, you can let me know in the comment section down below. Remember to subscribe to the channel and also to leave a like if you found this video very useful, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.